So part of what we're doing here is something with flavor.
Yes.
And part of what we're doing is just something with design. So we have white, we have bright orange, we have dark green. We have nice contrasting colors.
I see. So this is a case where you are thinking about color as part of the experience of the meal.
Yeah, and I think that
for someone
makes it seem like, and often is like, you put more effort into it because you put effort towards making it look good.
Right. All
right.
So, I put.
And you could even put another sauce on top of the tofu.
Now,
but there you go.
Okay.
There's your
fancy
little meal, and that took what? I mean, it took time to boil the carrots and the potatoes.
Well, I want to try it because I want to know whether I would be impressed if I were the person I was trying to.
Okay, well, you're looking at it.
So again, imagining it on a square plate.
Yeah, always on a square plate.
Let's see if we can
take your tofu, dip a little in that carrot.
Take tofu, dip it in the carrot puree. That's got more flavor than I expect from tofu. That's very mashed potato. The skins are nice.
Yeah, they give a little texture.
The flakes don't have skins.
No, they've skinned the flakes before they bring them in the box.
That's terrible. Does it? I don't even know if it has any potato in it. Oh, the heads of the asparagus become really nice
because they're a little crispy. Yeah.
Oh, that is fantastic. The asparagus and the dill is the highlight of the meal. This is pretty good, but
tofu is hard to make great.
It is. I mean, unfortunately, I have really constricted you here through my vegetarianism.
No, but you can do a lot with tofu if you want to add. So this is the most basic thing you could do.
Yeah.
If you wanted to add more flavor, you could add more flavor at each stage. So add more flavor to the puree. You could add more flavor to the potatoes. You could also add more flavor to the tofu by marinating the tofu overnight.
Marinating?
Yeah, you just stick it in a liquid that has some flavor, like some soy sauce or some Worcestershire sauce or something like that.
And you just, what do?
You leave it, and then it absorbs some of that liquid. And so then when you cook it, it tastes more like that thing than it does like tofu.
Actually, the tofu in the yogurt thing is very nice.
See?
Because there's a strong...
There's acid, there's...
That's the yogurt sauce with the dill. It's really very good. So, this is very simple.
This is the most basic thing that you get, but it looks kind of impressive.
But if I was making someone dinner and I made this, I don't think they would feel like I didn't put any effort in.
No, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you made some sauces, you made vegetables, you made
vegetables, tofu. You made tofu." And I mean, it doesn't have to be tofu. It can be, there are many meat substitutes.
There are many meat substitutes. You could also do different types of roasted veggies. This isn't like, "Oh my God, this is the most impressive meal on earth," but this is. It only used boiling, roasting, and the pan, the cooking methods that you know. It only used salt and pepper as our spices.
Right.
It used basically all of the vegetables that we had brought before.
The carrots, the asparagus.
The potatoes. We had used the yogurt previously.
Right.
I mean, you didn't have to go specially shopping for this.
No. This was stuff that I had in my fridge.
Yeah, and that on your sort of 2 or 3 week shopping round, because you might buy these vegetables generally, you might have.
I might have these, and then I can, but I could do some other kind of roasted thing. Does anything else mash, or is it just potatoes?
Yeah, tons of things mash. So you were asking me like 2 weeks ago about turnips.
Oh yeah, I said, is there...
You can make a turnip mash.
I had access to some turnips, and I was asking whether turnips were good for anything.
You can make a very good turnip mash.
Turnip mash. And then would you put...
But now you know. So turnips are like a potato. So... You know what to do with potatoes.
Oh, I see. So boil the turnips.
Boil the turnips. Yeah. Roast the turnips.
Roast the turnips. Pop them in a quiche. Pop them in a taco. Turnip taco. Do turnips have a taste? I don't know.
Turnips have a taste. They're nice. They're sweet. They're nutty. But yeah, roasted turnips, great.
The head of the asparagus is really extraordinary.
Do you know why?
Why?
Because it gets crispier and you get like textural variation, and it also absorbs a little bit more of the oil. I mean, there's not like a mysterious reason. It's just like, it's also more tender than the rest of the body, which is a little woody.
Yeah. The rest takes a little while too. But okay, so Are there other variations we can think of? What about the puree? Are there other things you'd puree or?
Yeah, so I think there's two ways that you could go. When I do a puree, I like to add some other flavors. Yeah. So one way to add flavor is by adding instead of it in water, boiling it in like a vegetable stock. So that adds some of the flavors of the stock. Okay. And then also you can add spices or other herbs to it, which are just things that we've done with other things. But these are just ways to add in layers of flavor. So this is like the base layer of flavor, just carrot, salt, and pepper. Yeah. And then you can add other things in to make it more flavorful. You could add some acid if you wanted it to be more acidic. Okay. But you don't have to. And the carrot is sort of a potato-like vegetable in the sense that it works well when you roast it or boil it. So you could do a turnip puree. You could do a potato puree. You could do a celery puree. Yeah. You could do... a sweet potato puree, a butternut squash puree, all of those work very well. And in
thinking about how to construct a dish for somebody, you kind of want, you probably want, we have a mixture of crispy things, sauces,
soft
things, and we have a kind of... we
have like a main course and some sides.
We have like a protein. We have a kind of vegetable side.
Even though we've gone very simply... The thing that I wanted to do with the puree is basically say, like, look, you could have just thrown tofu on the plate. Instead, you went and you do, a carrot puree.
Carrot
it's like,
puree. I pureed these carrots myself.
Yeah. Well, you don't say that because the secret of making food impressive is pretending that a carrot puree is something other than pureed carrots.
Oh yes, it's a carrot puree.
I made a carrot
puree instead of I pureed some carrots.
Yeah, that sounds disgusting.
Yes, so we are in the part of the program that focuses on how not to trick people, but how to manage impressions.
And that was a good magazine term.
One way to manage the impression that you send is through design, through layout.
Well, because you could have also just plopped this on the plate.
Right, there's a huge difference between just putting it together, but laying it out as the different things where you can see, oh, you did this and then you did this and then you did this.
And this is also the place where you who like sort of graphic design and art can actually have a lot of fun with this.
Yes, I actually, even though I don't
even though you don't love
cooking, I do know a little bit. I think the color of the carrot puree really stands out, and actually the sort of the asparagus is a very beautiful green.
And you could think of other colors that might mesh well.
It would be different if all of this was brown. Right. This would not look nearly as impressive.
And that's why doing a turnip puree and a mashed potato.
Right, you're gonna look like it's
and some beans or something just wouldn't look good.
It's funny. It is gonna look like a much worse meal, even if it tastes the same.
It could taste exactly the same.
And a picture of it, people go ugh.
And this, they go, oh, colors.
Yeah, colors. Color, the variety. Yeah. And so when you're cooking to impress, you do want to think about those things that look
impressive.
And we know superficial as that sounds.
And we know what looks impressive from buildings and from art and from all this.
It can't taste terrible, but it does go a long way if you can carry out a beautiful square plate.
Yeah. Well, and it makes someone really think, wow, this person put a lot of effort in because you actually did. You thought about the design along with the food.
And I see you when you've made things for people do like a drizzle.
Yeah,
a nice beautiful drizzle of things,
Which you could, if you wanted to add an additional sauce, you could put maybe a bright green pesto or a drizzle of like a red sauce on top.
You could drizzle a pesto?
Yeah, you could drizzle a pesto. And pesto's a little thicker, but you could drizzle some sort of red thing, like whatever color you thought would work well and that had good flavor that meshed.
So, any other tips for making a meal for someone? We said we want to think about, well, first off, their dietary restrictions.
Their dietary restrictions, and if you know them, you want to think about what is. I mean, if you really know them, you don't have to make something that looks good. You just have to put in the effort to understand who they are and make something that they would love.
But it would be nice. It's nice when you make a meal for someone to have,
Yeah, but like, for example, if you were going to make a meal for me and you wanted to just make an egg in the hole, I would be very happy with that because that I like that. Sure. But yeah, if you wanted to make a meal for someone new and you're like, they don't know you, you're trying to say, well, actually, I'm quite good at cooking.
Can I ask you, how about this? You have made many meals for people. Can you give me an example of a meal you have made for someone, why you decided to make that meal for them?
So there's a number of meals that I've made for my dad. When so my dad is a handyman. When he's been out working, and I've been staying out in Western Massachusetts where he lives. I've made meals that I know that he'll enjoy, that are either meals that his parents made or meals that I know that we enjoy together, that make him feel good. So I've done that. I've also made meals to woo people when we were living together.
Yes.
I made a meal to sort of try to date someone, and I gave her the choice. I said, okay, you can pick a country, and I'll make a meal based on that country.
Well, I'm far from that level. What country? Do you remember what country?
Spain.
Speak Spain, and what did you make from Spain?
Oh, fuck. I made... All I remember is making I made like a thing called a Romanesco sauce. So
you made a Spanish sauce.
I made a sauce. I did make a puree. I made a celery root puree. I made like a very fancy salad that had like a bunch of tiny elements and like little pomegranate seeds, and I made some things quite fancy. And I also got square plates.
And what would you make your dad? What is a typical thing to make your dad?
So my dad really likes he really likes like a shish kebab. And so I might make him that. Like I would sort of make the salads. I'm not a great baker, so I wouldn't make the pita bread, but I would marinate the meat and make the different sauces.
But you'd get some nice bread.
I would get some nice pita bread. I would
and I think that's another thing is like finding.
And that's not a fancy meal. That's just something I know he likes.
Because another thing I think to think about is thinking about the stuff that you want to make versus the stuff that you want to buy. We talk about the pie crust, for example.
Right.
But another thing is like, if you want the nice thing of bread on the side, you don't have to make the bread.
No, you
don't have
to make the bread. But if the bread's going to be a center point of the meal, get a nice bread.
But get a nice bread. Yeah. Have a little thing of olive oil to dip.
Yeah, if it's just your bread for making a sandwich, and you don't care that much, whatever. Get whatever loaf of bread you want.
Yeah.
But if it's if you want a bread with this meal, get a nice French bread or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, and this isn't to sound snobby about it. Actually, a baguette's not that much more expensive than a loaf of pre-sliced bread.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing it on a one-off for a particular meal. But obviously, all of this is variable based on price. But once again, as I say, if you buy if you have the ability to buy long-term, your price is actually much lower.
Right.
I will say the last thing that I'll say about cooking for someone else, unlike what we've done here, is I do think that's the appropriate time if you have something special that you want to make to really go and make it a project. Shop special, use a recipe if you want, because that's going to be less, okay, I have to use all these things, or this is my normal course. Sure. You might be making something really special and really specific.
Sure. So instead of the tofu, I might have made something.
You might have made something else, or
I did this. I actually did this for you once, and I don't think we ate much of it, but I do remember making these Parmesan ball burger things.
Yeah, you did. Those were interesting. Those were interesting. I appreciated that.
You're careful about which projects you choose, because you want to choose things where you're pretty guaranteed to
where you know how to do the thing.
Yeah. Well, I think they came out exactly as they were supposed to come out. But
I actually just think that recipe was weird.
They were just very odd.
That was strange.
But I think I did them correctly, and then they were odd. But no, but those weren't the only things I made. I made something else that was a little better, didn't I? I made, I think, fried rice.
Oh, that was good. That was a very good.
I did fried rice, and I taught myself how to make.
And that was a very good fried
rice, and it was quite good.
And fried rice is a sort of similar thing where you just you have the stuff, you fry it.
The funny thing is that must have been 2.5 years ago, and I can't remember cooking anything since.
No, but I do remember that, and that worked out well, and that wasn't even. But that's the thing though, like me, and so the fried rice is not a fancy dish. But I was like, oh, Nathan put a lot of effort into fried this.
Rice. Well, and I remember specifically that you were coming down to visit, and I wanted the experience of you walking through the door of my apartment and finding things, the smell of things cooking.
And things already, food already there.
I wanted you to feel like that you after a long journey, you were at a place where, there was food being made. And that's why I, even though I don't make food, wanted to make food, because arriving to the smell.
Well, and I think that's the impression that you want to give someone, right? You want to make someone feel cared for.
And so did it matter that the Parmesan balls were weird?
No, it didn't matter at all.
Not really.
There was plenty to eat. It was extremely wonderful to get off a long flight.
And it was nice.
Yeah.
So you can even do projects that you think will fail if it's for the sort of person who you could laugh about it with if it fails, but it's clear you still put in a lot of effort. And you do something that's a little reliable.
Yeah, you want to make sure they have something to eat.
You don't want to leave people hungry.
But like something stable and something experimental together, I think work very well.
Well, like the fried rice was harder to fuck up than that.
And the last thing that I'll say about when I came, usually when I come down to New Orleans to visit you, is you and I go and get a bag of beignets.
Yes.
And our next video is going to be our only dessert video.
Yes.
Where we're going to make cookies. And what I will say is that's another thing that can impress people, right? If you made a bag of beignets or something, or you bake a batch of cookies, it's very impressive.
Beignets seem hard. I've looked at videos of people making beignets. I watched Babish make beignets, and I'm not making beignets.
Deep frying scares me.
I live a block from Café du Monde. I'm buying beignets.
Well, buy some beignets.
But I will make people cookies, and we will try, assuming that the next video goes well.
We will try cookies next.